and I'm a longtime peacemaker. And I'm a proud Los Angeles Violence Intervention Coalition member. For 2 decades, I've walked the streets of South Los Angeles and beyond.
Live from Michigan Avenue, this is Good Day Chicago.
Good morning and welcome to Good Day Chicago. I'm Brian Jackson. Here's a look at some of the stories we're following this morning, including some breaking news out of Oak Park, where fire crews are responding to an apartment fire. Also remembering civil rights leader Reverend Jesse Jackson, who died at the age of 84. And taking a live look outside, had a little bit of rain on the windshield. Moving into the office this morning, we got some showers. We'll tell you exactly how long they're going to last. It was a little wet out there, Mike.
I give another 13 minutes in the city. Since you want exact timing there, Brian. Good morning, everybody. Yes, still just a little bit left of this system. You know, most of us have gotten a 1/10 of an inch or less, a little bit more in northwest Indiana where it's still raining. But this stuff is outbound. And look at the temperatures. Early morning, sun hasn't even come up, and it's in the 50s. 52 at O'Hare, the lakefront, Midway, 54 at Joliet, 50 at Valparaiso and Michigan City. We're safely headed for the 60s this afternoon with clearing skies. Brian, back to you.
Well, we are going to go back to that breaking news where crews are responding to an apartment fire in Oak Park. We are still working to get more details. You can see some of the flames shooting out of a window there. We're going to bring you more on this breaking story as soon as we get more information. Well, plenty of people are paying their respects to civil rights leader and founder of the Rainbow Push Coalition, Reverend Jesse Jackson. It's been decades fighting for justice, equality, and human rights. He also got involved in activism as a teen and worked alongside Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. He also ran for president twice. Fox Chicago spoke with multiple people about how they're remembering the civil rights icon.
He made everyone all across this city really feel like they were somebody. To see a man of color risk his life to say, hey, I can be that was inspiring.
Jackson inspired so many leaders in the push for civil rights, including Reverend Al Sharpton. The two had known one another since Sharpton was just a teenager. He remembered how his friend managed to keep moving forward following the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
I always wondered how much trauma that must have been for him to witness Reverend King's assassination. He never would talk about it too much, but it drove him. He kept saying, we got to keep Dr. King's dream alive. He literally changed American politics, New York politics, and kept the civil rights movement going, and then raised some of us that have been in the forefront in the first part of the 21st century to do what we do. And he's been there with us.
Cook County Sheriff Tom Dart also paid tribute. He released a statement saying he is deeply saddened by Reverend Jesse Jackson's passing. He also talked about the work that Reverend Jackson did at the Cook County Jail, where he spent plenty of time with inmates, giving them hope. Well, families affected by the E2 nightclub tragedy came together on Tuesday to honor their loved ones who never returned home. 21 people were killed during that stampede. Our Casey Cronus has more on the story.
With the building no longer here, the site of the former club looks very different today, but the grief will never go away.
Anytime there's tragic or any death in your life, it is hard to just let go. In reality, you're going to think about them as the years go along. And I always do.
It's been 23 years since confusion and panic set in during a night out on Motor Row. Pain that Demetra Carwell's mom, Mary, will carry forever, and heartache that will stay with Lanisha Crawford, Demetra's young daughter.
I still get sad a lot. It's a lot of questions I like to ask her and get to know, but I have aunties and uncles and everybody and big family, so I get a lot of my answers from like bonding and sharing moments with them.
The night of the tragedy, like other families, Mary was up waiting for her daughter to return home from the E2 nightclub when she found out on the news that something had gone terribly wrong. In the early morning hours of February 17, 2003, a security guard had used pepper spray to break up a fight, but fear quickly spread through the club, with patrons worried it was a gas attack. Hundreds of people rushed toward the exit, falling down the steep, narrow staircase, landing on top of each other and becoming trapped. The club, marred by building violations, shouldn't have been open to begin with.
She was so much of a person that loved life, loved people, outgoing, so understanding.
On this tragic anniversary, Mary is experiencing another wave of emotion after learning of Reverend Jesse Jackson's death. He took her from hospital to hospital that morning, looking for her daughter.
Oh my God, I was so thankful because he stood by my side and stayed there with me until we found her. And that was a blessing for him to do that. He didn't have to do that.
The former club was demolished in December of 2024 after months of back and forth between the building's owner and the city's Landmarks Commission. It has sat vacant ever since, but families are hopeful that soon enough a permanent memorial will be established. Third Ward Alderman Pat Dowell's team tells us she is committed to supporting that effort.
To the families, stay strong, stay positive. If anything's going on in your life, make sure you put God first.
The property owner previously talked about creating a permanent memorial for the victims, but development plans for the site haven't yet been announced. Reporting in the South Loop, Casey Cronus, Fox Chicago.
The village president of Oak Brook confirms that ICE is operating out of one of its office spaces along 22nd Street. Lawrence Herman says it is the same building where Lewis University leases space for its students. Village leaders say that the university has moved some classes online out of an abundance of caution. Village leaders say as long as ICE uses the office space for administrative purposes, it will be allowed to stay.
And there are a lot of heightened emotions around ICE. As I said, we're a municipality. We're focused on doing what we can control, which is providing, public services and running our village. We don't get involved in matters outside of our borders. We don't think it's appropriate for us to do so. They are operating there lawfully. I can't control what they do. They're a lawful user of the property.
A spokesperson for the Department of Homeland Security released a statement saying that ICE will not confirm office locations since officers have been facing a massive increase in death threats and assaults towards them. It's up now 4:37 this morning. Bears could certainly use another pass rusher. Max Crosby happens to be one of the best in the business. Mike, those trade rumors are starting to heat up, and it certainly looks like at least one Chicago Bear wouldn't mind having him as a teammate.
And it's interesting because he gave him all kinds of problems earlier this year in week 4?
Yeah.
All right, Bears QB Caleb Williams made an appearance on Crosby's podcast Tuesday. During the hour-long episode, both Williams and Crosby talked about how things have been different after their rookie seasons in the NFL.
My first year didn't actually have a bad year, but it was a lot of heat and classified as a bad year because we didn't win, as you've been a part of, where you play good and don't win or whatever, and the heat is a little bit more than what you would think it'd be.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
and it's important too. Like we talked about, I'm going to my 8th year, and you're going into your 3rd. Like you're learning on the fly. There's no way.
On the fly. There's no sitting. There's no situations nowadays where if you get drafted high or you come in as a good player, you're playing and you're not really learning from anybody. You're learning on the fly.
What an interesting pair there, isn't it? All right, here's a look at today's sports schedule. Lots of men's college hoops this Wednesday. UIC is going to take on Evansville at 7 p.m. DePaul taking on Seton Hall at 7 as well. And the Fighting Illini, they've got a game against USC. Tip-off is set for 9 p.m. Chicago time. Of course, they've been getting a lot of rain out west. We had a little bit of rain overnight, still a couple of light showers in the area, but this rain is outbound, and the rest of the day is going to be spectacular. Yesterday, failed to get into the 60s. There's just too much cloud cover around. That's not going to be the case today. 55 at 9, clearing or clearer at that time. Sunny and breezy at noon, already in the 60s. Feeling more like early May than late February here, with temps getting into the low to mid 60s. It is 52 degrees now. South winds at a good clip, 19 miles per hour. That will help drive this warm air in here. Pretty much low 50s everywhere. 54 at Gary and Joliet are a couple of the warmer spots. Benton Harbor only 49, but you'll get close to 60 later on. Despite the fact we had a little rain overnight, there's actually a risk of spreading wildfires today. These gusty winds, very low humidity levels. This is why there's a red flag warning. It includes McHenry, Kane, Kendall, Grundy, and Points West. This is more or less saying, don't start any fires outside. The risk of a quick spread is there. 64 today, becoming sunny and windy. West-southwest winds 15 to 25 with some gusts of 30 plus. Unseasonably warm. Not quite a record, but up there. Tonight, partly to mostly cloudy, rather mild. A low temperature above the normal high for this time of year. Tomorrow, going to be kind of a busy day, I think, weather-wise. We'll get a high, I think, at O'Hare, 58. It'll be cooler at the lake, warmer southwest of the city where 60s are possible. And late in the day and in the evening, there could be some gusty thunderstorms in the area. I'll show you where the risk of severe thunderstorms exists in a little bit. And then temperatures tail off, but not that far below normal over the weekend. Highs will be in the mid-30s, right?
Well, coming up on Good Day, there's a good chance you're going to receive a bigger tax refund. We'll explain why when Good Day Chicago returns.
Message.
Here's a look at our top stories. We're following some breaking news out of Oak Park, where crews are responding to an apartment fire in the village. We're still working on gathering more details. We'll update you as soon as we get more information. But plenty of people are paying their final respects to civil rights leader and the founder of the Rainbow Push Coalition, Reverend Jesse Jackson. He spent decades fighting for justice, equality, and human rights. He got involved in activism as a teenager and worked right alongside Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. He also ran for president twice. FICE is operating out of one of its office spaces in Oak Brook. That is according to the village president. Lawrence Herman says it is the same building where Lewis University leases space for its students. Village leaders say as long as ICE uses the office space for administrative purposes, it will be allowed to stay. Police in Rhode Island have identified the mother and son that were killed at a youth hockey game. Pawtucket police say that 56-year-old Robert Dorgan shot and killed his ex-wife Rhonda and their son Aiden. Police say he also shot and injured 3 others. Among them was the suspect's former in-laws and a family friend. The Dorgan family were attending a hockey game where Aiden and Rhonda were going to be honored as part of a senior night ceremony.
What I can say about any conversations with the family, again, is that the family there that was sitting on the bleachers was affected. Some are still in critical care, so we're still gathering that information. From the video, it doesn't appear that there was any conversation or confrontation between the family before the incident happened.
Police are still trying to determine a motive for the shooting. It could take anywhere from 20 minutes to more than 7 years for results from the DNA found on a glove near the home of Nancy Guthrie. This comes after investigators say that the samples of DNA could not be identified in the FBI's national database. Investigators have been examining the backpack and clothing that the suspect was seen wearing on Guthrie's doorbell camera. They're working with Walmart to see if they can determine who may have purchased this bag, which is exclusively sold at the superstore. The Pima County Sheriff says that there is no evidence that Nancy Guthrie was taken out of the country. Early data from the IRS shows taxpayers are getting refunds that are about 11% higher than last year. The latest filing season statistics says that the typical check is slightly less than $2,300. That is up by about $35 from last year. Tax accountants credit the slightly larger checks to the retroactive tax cuts and new deductions for tips and overtime pay. Just a reminder, tax day is coming up on Wednesday, April the 15th. Time now, 4:46. It's feeling like April outside this morning, though, Mike.
At least, or maybe early May. Remarkable. Temperatures in the 50s right now. We're headed for the 60s this afternoon. Rain about to be out of here. Still just a little bit. Almost all of us now is kind of east of the tri-state and most of it in northwest Indiana, scooting away. But we're not done with the rain this week. Take a look at our future cast, and you will see rapid clearing taking place. By 10 o'clock, it is full-on sunshine, and all that sunshine, remember what it was like a couple of days ago? We got the same sort of a deal. Mid-60s, I think, are likely. Tonight, I think we'll go partly cloudy, maybe a little bit more cloud cover overnight. And tomorrow, that's when the next storm system arrives. And the bulk of the action with that is going to be happening in the late afternoon and evening hours. You see a few scattered thunderstorms popping up here. Then we'll be dry slotted in this storm system, I think, after about 7 or 8 o'clock, and that should shut down any significant precipitation. On Friday morning, there could be a sprinkle or maybe even a wet snowflake mixed in, but no big precipitation with that. 64 today, gusty winds, west-southwest about 15 to 25. Tonight, we'll drop it down to 42. Skies will go from partly to mostly cloudy. And then tomorrow, occasional showers. Most of the thunderstorm activity, it's going to be spotty, will happen, I think, between about 3 and 8 p.m. A high tomorrow, varying between near 50 at the lake to well into the 60s southwest of the city. Then temperatures tail off. We'll still be 45 on Friday. That's not too bad. But over the weekend, it's back into the 30s. It'll feel much more like February here for at least a couple of days. Back to you.
Well, coming up, candidates running for the Cook County Board President debate on key issues right here in the Fox Chicago studio. We'll show you what they had to say about the county's property tax system.
Fox 32 Chicago.
Welcome back. Election season is literally heating up. Fox Chicago hosted another fiery debate in our series focusing on some of the key races. Last night, two candidates squared off for the Cook County Board President seat. Incumbent Tony Preckwinkle and Chicago Alderman Brendan Riley. This is what the two had to say about Cook County's property tax system.
Property tax bills had not gone out on time for more than 30 years. And the technology we were relying on was on the brink of collapse. It was 40 years old. We have a massive property tax system, 1.5 million pieces of property, a massive, complex system. And clearly, trying to fix it was going to be a monumental undertaking, which is why nobody did it before I got into office. Now, I don't assess properties. I don't tax properties. Responsibility for the property tax system is spread across 6 separately elected officials. 6 separately elected officials. What I can do, I did, which was convene folks, get them the technical assistance and resources they needed to do their job.
The county board president is the chief executive, and that's where the buck should stop. And I can tell you, Tony ushered in this Tyler Technologies contract. It was her Bureau of Technologies that was supposed to execute it, manage it, make sure they were meeting their deadlines, their metrics, and they failed at every turn. And they continued to execute on that contract, double, triple, and quadruple down. We were promised to have this thing fixed 8 years ago, and now 11 years later, it still doesn't work.
Make sure to tune in to the Chicago Report later tonight when two candidates vying for the Cook County Assessor make their case for why they're the best choice come Election Day. Well, it is Lunar New Year, which is the start of the 15-day festival celebrating Asian cultures. Families have been busy preparing for Lunar New Year by buying oranges and lucky gifts in Chinatown. Food plays a central role in the celebration, with symbolic dishes such as whole fish, dumplings, and lettuce served at family gatherings to represent abundance and wealth.
My favorite thing about the new year is that I get to celebrate it with family and friends, and being introduced to a really amazing culture is just exciting and thrilling, and just seeing like how everyone celebrates.
As part of the celebration, they also clean their homes and pay off their debts. It's now 4:53 this morning. Mike, we got some very warm temperatures outside this morning.
Yeah, it's in the 50s right now, already almost 20 degrees above the normal high this time of the year. Just a little bit of rain left there. So let's start with a look at the radar here. And it is not much, maybe another 100th of an inch or two in a few spots. I'll pause it on the last frame. Let's zoom in and look at a couple of spots. Let's go here north of the city. We got a little bit of rain here, mainly the tri-state and points east. A little rain around Glenview, Northbrook, north towards Highwood and Lake Bluff. A little bit of rain at Waukegan. Into northwest Indiana, some showers here as well, especially in Porter and LaPorte County. But, almost anywhere for the next hour or so, and get a brief light rain shower. None of this is very heavy, however, so we're not going to worry too much about that. I do want to show you, though, the outlook for severe weather tomorrow. And it includes parts of the Chicago area. There is a level 2 risk, a slight risk that reaches places like Watseka and Bloomington. But if you go roughly south of the city, so southern Cook County, Will County, Kendall, Grundy, LaSalle County, and all of northwest Indiana, these are areas under a level 1 or marginal risk of severe thunderstorms. It doesn't look like a widespread event, but there could be some gustier storms popping up tomorrow, mainly I think between about 3 and 8 p.m. Today, once we get these little morning showers out of here, it is bring out the sun and heat it up. We're going for 64 today, unseasonably warm. The downside is it is going to be quite windy. Tonight, it's quiet, but tomorrow we've got an active day with showers and thunderstorms around, especially in that afternoon and early evening time frame. I go for 58 as the official high at O'Hare. It'll be a little warmer southwest, a little cooler right along the lakefront. 45 on Friday, clearing out, and then temperatures more befitting of February, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. Back up to 40 degrees, though, on Tuesday. Almost 4:55. We'll be right back after this.
Fox Local.
Rescue teams are racing to save a group of skiers who got trapped following an avalanche in California. The Nevada County Sheriff's Office says at least 6 people survived, but 10 skiers are still missing. The Sheriff's Office says that the 6 survivors were still at the avalanche site awaiting rescue. California Governor Gavin Newsom says that the state is now coordinating additional resources to support the search and rescue efforts. Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg is expected to face some tough questions today as he's expected to testify in the landmark social media addiction trial. The lawsuit is being brought by a 20-year-old California woman who says that Meta's Instagram and Google's YouTube were knowingly designed with addictive features which harmed her mental health. Meta denies the claims and says it prioritizes teen safety. High-stakes talks continue in Europe. The U.S. is expected to receive detailed proposals from Iran after the countries held indirect talks in Switzerland. Both sides say that progress was made on a nuclear deal. So far, nothing has been agreed upon. Meanwhile, talks to resolve Russia's war in Ukraine continue. Negotiations will pick back up again later today. A fiery blast rips through a church in upstate New York. 5 people were hurt, including a pastor and several firefighters, after the explosion went off at the Abundant Life Church in Boonville. State troopers said that the church was heated by propane cylinders. A gas odor in the building was reported. 4 people were said to be in the basement when the furnace was turned on, which set off that explosion. A new report shows Americans set another domestic air travel record in 2025. AAA analyzed multiple years of checkpoint data from the TSA. The organization found that more than 904 million flyers went through TSA checkpoints in 2025. That is an increase of 2.57 million travelers compared to 2024. The rise in travelers marks a new annual domestic air travel record.
Good Day Chicago.